Good evening. Grief compounded by a lack of answers. Altaf Taju lost both of his parents when their Air India flight from Ahmedabad to Gatwick crashed just seconds after takeoff. Now, 6 months later, Altaf has told ITV News he fears the graves of his mother and father, Adam and Hasina, may in fact contain the bodies of other people. Altaf says he and his family have been traumatised by the way the aftermath of the disaster has been handled, from being given burnt items of clothing that didn't belong to his parents to seeing his mother's personal belongings on social media. And now news that a UK coroner has found remnants of his mother's remains mixed with that of another British victim. With this special report, here's our correspondent, Sejal Karia.
They were just amazing parents to us. We're still in shock. We're still grieving.
Altaf is haunted, not just by the loss of his loved ones, but by the events surrounding their deaths. He lost his mother and father, Adam and Hasina Taju, and his brother-in-law, also called Altaf Hussain, who were among 53 British passengers killed in the Air India crash in Ahmedabad in June. Altaf's grief is now bound up in a question no family should ever have to ask. When he laid his parents to rest in India, did he in fact bury the wrong bodies?
Is it our loved ones that we buried? We need answers. Where are they? My uncle rings me on Sundays. He used to show me the graves of my mum and dad. I've told him not to because I don't know who I'm praying to. We now sit at home and just pray to God that just make him rest in peace. We just left everything to our God now because I don't even look at the graves because I don't know who they are.
You don't know if your parents are in the graves?
No.
Altaf's suspicions grew after a series of events, both in India and here in the UK. His parents' belongings were never returned, yet their items appeared on social media in the aftermath of the crash.
What they found was my dad's wallet with pound notes in them, and he's flicking it up and you can clearly see my dad's driving licence. And then there was someone else holding some jewellery up and it was clearly identified by my sisters and they confirmed that it was my mum's jewellery.
What he eventually received were possessions Indian authorities said belonged to his mother, contained in a plastic bag marked only with the flight number on the day of her funeral.
We opened it up and there was a male's tracksuit bottom, all burnt, holes in it. My mother does not wear tracksuit bottoms.
The family were also prevented from opening the coffins. And then came a revelation in the UK. Coroners later found a small fragment of his mother's remains mixed with those of another repatriated British victim.
They found a small trace of a tooth. My DNA matched. That was my mother's tooth. I was traumatised when I heard that news. I didn't know how to tell my sisters.
Culturally and religiously, where does this leave you?
We bury in our religions. We have to bury. Where other religions, they cremate. And thinking of what's happened, my parents could have been cremated.
For Altaf, the pain has been compounded by a lack of answers and of accountability. He is one of 40 British families who've written to the Foreign Office asking for help. A letter sent in August, there's still been no substantive reply.
The families have given us harrowing accounts of the lack of support from the British government. In their darkest hours, in their time of need, they felt abandoned.
Has anyone from the British government expressed their condolences to you and your family?
Nothing. No, nothing whatsoever.
What's your message to the government tonight?
We need a closure. We need to find out whose body was given to who. Is it our loved ones? They failed, 100%.
ITV News was allowed to accompany Altaf's family in India as they lovingly tended to the graves, even though they're now unsure who is actually buried there. Sejal Karia, ITV News.
Well, ITV News contacted the Ministry for External Affairs in India for a comment, but we're yet to receive a response. We have heard from the Foreign Office, who told us our thoughts remain with all the families and loved ones of the victims in this tragic accident. The Foreign Office continues to provide support, including dedicated consular caseworkers to each family who requests our support, and remain in contact with the Indian authorities. Next tonight, he was described by a judge as a coward who showed no remorse. Peter Augustine, a robber who murdered a vulnerable 87-year-old man for his shopping, was sentenced to life in prison today. John Mackey was kicked, punched and stamped on by Augustine outside a co-op in Manor House. His family said he was a kind and generous gentleman who's been taken from them too soon. Katho Patter reports.
I haven't killed no one. What are you talking about?
But he had. John Mackey may have been 87. He may have been a pensioner. He still had life to live. A life that was taken from him by this man in what the judge described as a cowardly robbery, stealing from John's nieces and nephews, a much-loved relative.
Today is the end of a journey our family never wanted to take and wouldn't wish on anyone. Our lovely, gentle uncle was taken from us in a brutal act of senseless violence by a man the exact opposite of John Mackey.
The murder itself took place in John's neighbourhood of Finsbury Park in North London. The date was May the 6th. All John was doing was a bit of shopping. Unbeknownst to him, he'd been marked out by a killer. This was one of the last places John Mackey was seen before he was attacked. His local co-op. He came here to buy some cornflakes, cottage pie, sausages and chips. He then placed them into his bag. A few minutes later, he was followed and attacked by Augustine. It wasn't hard to place him to the crime because when the police searched his apartments, what did they find? John Mackey's bag and the packaging from his shopping.
It is a shameful tragedy that John was killed by Augustine for a mere few bits of shopping. He deserved better.
This morning, Augustine didn't attend his sentencing. His reason? Back pain, despite prison healthcare staff stating he was well and capable. Nonetheless, justice was served in his absence. Life in prison.
I have no doubt that the defendant targeted him specifically because he was frail. It was a cowardly attack. The defendant has shown no remorse.
These two men couldn't be further apart. One described as a murdering coward, the other a kind-hearted soul.
Always fond memories of my uncle. Yeah. Never forget him.
No, none of us would ever forget him.
No, never.
Yeah.
As you can see, John clearly is missed, and clearly will never be forgotten. Katho Patter, ITV News.
And there'll be more on our top stories and the rest of the day's national and international news on the evening news with Geraint. Here's a look ahead.
Coming up on the programme, mass screening for prostate cancer has not been recommended for use on the NHS, but some men will be screened. We'll have the details and the reaction. Jailed for life, the man who murdered a pensioner before robbing him of his shopping, a box of cornflakes and a cottage pie. Rachel Reeves is accused of misleading the country before the budget, and the campaign to save the spot where Auld Lang Syne was written. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
A jury inquest into the death of a man killed by an armed police officer at his home in Dagenham has found the officer who shot him acted lawfully. Gidrius Vasilevis had called 999 saying he was armed and intended to take his own life. The inquest found he died after being shot in the stomach and that the officer believed his life was at risk. A Chelsea Football Club employee has admitted to abusing her position to defraud the club of more than £200,000. Claire Walsh, who worked as an assistant treasury manager, pleaded guilty at Westminster Magistrates Court today to fraud carried out over a 4-year period. Survivors of terror attacks are having to relive the trauma they experienced because of distressing content on social media. That's according to a new report which found almost all survivors have seen footage of the attacks they were caught up in and found it harmful. Almost 1 in 5 of them has sent hate speech, conspiracy theories and death threats online. Claudia Vince, who survived the Fishmongers Hall attack 6 years ago, told us the government should do more to protect victims. Callum Fairhurst reports.
Attack survivors say the terror never really ends. A new report warns of a tidal wave of online abuse. For many, it's a second attack. Trolling, harassment, even death threats, all aimed at people already living with trauma. Like Claudia, who was at Fishmongers Hall 6 years ago when a terrorist fatally stabbed 2 university students.
I definitely had a bit of a barrage of messages through my personal social media accounts in the immediate aftermath of the attack. I think what we found after Fishmongers was, before we even knew what had happened, there was hundreds of angles of the same footage being shared on social media, and that was really hard to manage. It's a time when your mental health and going through such a trauma is already kind of completely flipped upside down. Your whole life has been flipped upside down, and the results are people don't leave the house.
And Claudia is not alone. The report found most survivors of terror attacks saw content about the event online. Almost all of those found that harmful or troubling. More than a third saw their personal stories used as part of conspiracies, and 1 in 6 received malicious messages on social media, pictures of their loved ones who had died, hate speech or claims they were crisis actors. The report's authors are now calling for change.
For government, it's about strengthening the Online Safety Act and making sure that companies have got good standards in place to protect people. For Ofcom, it's about holding companies to account. And for the companies themselves, it's about having a more effective and robust response to these problems.
The government says it's unacceptable many victims face abuse, and platforms must remove illegal harassment as well as preventing it from appearing in the first place, while Ofcom says they'll take enforcement action for any companies failing to comply with the Online Safety Act. But many say more needs to be done.
We have the anniversary of Fishmongers Hall tomorrow. It's been 6 years for us, and unfortunately since Fishmongers there have been a number of other attacks. And it breaks my heart that the impact of social media is a double trauma. It's a secondary trauma that people are experiencing. And I think all of us in society, but especially Ofcom and the government, have a real responsibility to make sure we're doing something to target that.
The message from survivors is clear. The terror must not be allowed to continue online. Callum Fairhurst, ITV News.
Next tonight, Genevieve Chinua has told ITV News she'll never move back to London after being assaulted for a second time. The actor, best known for her role in Bridgerton, was left with concussion after a prolific mugger tried to steal her phone in Kensington in February. She moved out of the capital after the incident, but was back last week for work and says she was targeted again. Now she's calling for systemic change, as Toby Sadler reports.
And this guy just looks at me and targets me.
This is Genevieve Chinua minutes after she was attacked. Clearly shaken and scared, but also angry.
He hit me with full force. I was against a wall. His hands were in his pockets and he used his elbow as hard as he could. And there really wasn't anywhere for me to go. I turned around and screamed at him, but because his hands were in his pockets, in London, you don't know if someone's got a knife on them. And yeah, I just found a corner. I crouched down in a corner. I was having a panic attack. Hands were sweating, just felt terrified.
Genevieve is best known for her work in Bridgerton and knows if she wants her acting career to be a success, she has to be in London. But just being here is tough. This latest attack comes just 8 months since Genevieve fought off a phone thief in a London cafe. That man was jailed, but another who Genevieve says threatened to stab her was never arrested. The anxiety from that day was just starting to ease when she says she was attacked near Oxford Circus.
This hitting people in the street, barging into them, is actually something that I believe there is actual communities online for. And so men talk about walking into women as hard as they can because the chances of them getting caught are really low. And it's kind of it's a dominance thing, and it's a way of showing aggression in a way that really disempowers women, shocks them, and makes them feel unsafe, and it's a form of control.
Genevieve is joining a campaign for women-only train carriages in London, posting this on her Instagram. She says she's lost count of the number of times that men have made her feel uncomfortable or fear for her safety.
I've received thousands of messages and thousands of comments from women sharing their stories, and it's really made me realise that what I've experienced isn't an isolated event. It's a cultural problem that we're actually having, and systemic, and so something quite severe, I think, actually has to change for this to change.
Genevieve wants some good to come from her experience and will continue to speak out and campaign for change. Toby Sadler, ITV News.
Still to come, Joan Armatrading on how a classical gig at the South Bank Centre 2 years ago has led to a lifelong love.
And I'm on the Snoopy trail, seeing how many of these I can find dotted around Fleet Street.
But first, reams of evidence that was used to secure the conviction of the infamous Great Train robbers will go up for auction this weekend. The collection of files comes from the personal archive of Ernest Millen, one of the Met Police detectives who headed up the investigation 60 years ago. With all the details, here's Joe Caution.
So what we've got here is the personal archive of Ernest Millen, who at the time of the Great Train robbery was the head of the flying squad before being promoted to chief superintendent.
Solving the Great Train robbery meant a lot to Detective Chief Superintendent Ernest Millen.
What strikes me is this is a lot of casework that typically police officers wouldn't be taking home.
No, that's what makes this lot so unusual and so rare in that instance, is the fact that it's been brought back, and I should imagine his position in the police force probably enabled him to do so.
Detective Millen kept boxes of paperwork and photographs never publicly seen before from the career-defining case he helped to crack, long after all 16 criminals had been caught and sent to prison. The thieves targeted a Royal Mail train carrying bags of cash from Glasgow to London in August 1963. Millen's evidence bundle shows how they wired their own battery to fake a red stop signal and used a glove covering the green one to confuse the driver, as well as pictures of their hideout at Leatherslade Farm, where the two heist vehicles were found running on the same number plates. The gang escaped with over £2.5 million, equivalent to more than £60 million today. And while Millen's collection may not fetch that at auction, experts think it could be a priceless addition for certain collectors.
Anyone that's interested in probably what is one of the largest heists in the last of the 20th century, the train robbery itself, is going to be interested in this, but it's also going to appeal to police memorabilia collectors, as this is the extent of the archive from his whole career. It's this bit being the cream of it really, but his whole career from prior to the war right up to after the robbery itself. So for the police collectors, this is very, very rare and unique.
What's this been like to put a valuation on? Because I can imagine priceless for him. What about for you?
I mean, it's priceless for us as well. I mean, it's a privilege to handle this stuff. I'm very interested in this myself, and to see this stuff and handle it is a real privilege. But to put a price on it, it's been very difficult. We have to just make the bidders decide that for us, I guess.
And before it goes under the hammer, Scotland Yard had to remove any sensitive evidence. But Millen's casework still provides a unique police perspective into one of Britain's most infamous crimes. Joe Caution, ITV News.
A win today for Olivia Dean fans as ticket sale sites Ticketmaster and AXS agreed to partially refund those who paid over the odds for her concerts. Kate Blanchett has been awarded the Freedom of the City of London. It's in recognition of the Oscar winner's outstanding contribution to drama and for her campaigning work on humanitarian and global environmental issues. After the ceremony, Kate said London represents a new beginning for many refugees, safety, hope and belonging after hardship. She said she accepted the freedom in their honour. The singer-songwriter Joan Armatrading says despite living in Surrey for decades, her heart has never left Birmingham. The 74-year-old has composed a new classical piece of work that is, she says, a love letter to her Midlands hometown. Armatrading's first foray into classical music came with Symphony No. 1, which she performed at the South Bank Centre 2 years ago. And it appears she's caught the bug. She sat down with Daisy Bissell.
She's been creating and performing music for more than half a century. But Joan Armatrading's latest offering strikes a different note. Homeland is a classical work for choir and orchestra. It's a love letter to Birmingham, where she grew up, after arriving in the UK from the Caribbean in 1958.
Got to Birmingham at the age of 7, make the journey all on my own from Antigua. And very easy to write the lyrics, actually, because I just grown up in this great place with the great people. And it's really all about the people for me.
It's not the first time this artist of many genres has turned her hand to a classical style. She wrote her first symphony in 2023 for a performance on the South Bank.
I knew at some point that I would write a classical piece. I just didn't know when that would be. And then one day I was in my studio and I just started writing this piece. And the City of Birmingham Orchestra guys came to see that and must have liked it because they commissioned me to write this piece.
Homeland is kind of an ode to Birmingham, but you have spent many years in London. Would you ever write an ode to London?
Should I say this? I don't know if I should say this, but I tried to write the piece so that whatever city was dear to you, you could adapt or adopt that piece, because it talks about the city in a way I think that most people hopefully feel about where they grow up.
Self-taught on both piano and guitar, for the last 20 years, the Ivor Novello Award winner has produced and played every instrument on her records. Down to the ground, down to the ground. Not one to be put in a box, Armatrading embraces change, whether it be genre, style, or new technology.
I'm not particularly scared of AI because I think of AI as a tool. Just like we have text, we have messaging and whatever, but you always at some point want to see a real person and talk to a real person. I don't think that's ever going to go away. You know, you're not going to not need people.
So whether it's classical or contemporary, London or Birmingham, for Joan Armatrading it will always be people who fill her music with love and affection. Daisy Bissell, ITV News.
She is brilliant, isn't she? Right, let's have a look at what the weekend weather's going to be like. Here's Holly.
A heavy downpour will subside and light relaxation will set in. TUI sponsors ITV London weekend weather.
Hello, good evening. It's very up and down over the next few days weather-wise. Tomorrow brings wind and rain. In fact, many of us have a rain warning in force tomorrow. Brighter skies emerge on Sunday, but a chillier feel to things. But then more very unsettled weather returns for the beginning of next week. So this is the feature we're watching develop for tomorrow. And even at this lead time, there's still some uncertainty about it. Little ridge of high pressure for Sunday, improving things. But this is the weather that makes our way for Monday. A real squeeze there in the isobars and quite a big dose of rain as well. Quiet out there though. This evening some starry skies overhead, but as the night wears on, thickening cloud, strengthening winds and outbreaks of rain start to spill our way. Now, as I say, there is uncertainty about exactly how this weather will unfold for tomorrow, but I think you should expect a wet start, a windy start. And then many of us have a rain warning in force. It's for central London and areas to the northwest. We could see 20 to 30 millimetres of rain, locally perhaps as much as 50, enough for some localised flooding. And even where you haven't got the warning in force, it's still going to be a wet old story. You might see a little bit of brightness coming through from the west later on in the day, but again, uncertainty about how quickly this rain will push through. This is Sunday though, a very different story. Still a bit of a squeeze in the isobars at first, so you might see a brisk wind initially, but that should tend to ease down and we'll see some sunshine coming through. So a nice bright story on Sunday, but it will feel that bit chillier. You can see though, further rain moving in behind me, and that has us in its sights for Monday. So I think Monday, a windy day, and again we could see quite a bit of rain falling, so that's another one we'll be keeping a close watch on. That's all from me. Have a good evening.
TUI sponsors ITV London Weekend Weather.
Finally tonight, he is perhaps the world's most famous beagle. Snoopy is officially 75 years old, and this Christmas he's being celebrated back where he began. 12 uniquely designed sculptures of the character have been installed around the Fleet Street Quarter, where the cartoon first appeared in the Peanuts comic strip back in October of 1950. With a sneak preview, here's Sally Patterson.
It's tiring work. Out on the trail of the sleepiest dog in cartoon history. This is Snoopy in the city, a festive treasure hunt enticing visitors from far and wide.
I've heard about this on Instagram and I was really excited to just kind of take a walk around here and also to get a sense of the place here because I've not visited here before.
Show us your jumper, I've got to see it.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
What do you love about Snoopy?
I just love that it focuses on children with adult insights, and it's always usually has a positive light and brings a smile to everyone's face.
For centuries, Fleet Street has been the heart of the print industry. Those newspaper pages filled with Peanut comic strips since the 1950s.
I think the aim of this festive trail is to bring as many people as possible into this incredible historic part of London. It is full of lanes, courtyards, alleyways. We want to see as many people as possible.
The trail's a collaboration with Wild In Art, shining a light on up-and-coming artists.
Now, every single sculpture has Snoopy lying just like this on his back, having a snooze. What makes them so unique are these hand-painted dog houses designed by different artists across the UK.
Organisers say there's already been 15,000 scans.
Hi there!
And I got to meet the voice behind the map.
The Snoopy sculpture you've just found is called Fungi's House.
Olaf Falafel's a comedian, illustrator, and now a guide for visitors around the Fleet Street Quarter.
We're currently sat in Gough Square. We've got a Snoopy here, and behind me we've also got Dr. Johnson's house. Dr. Johnson compiled the first English dictionary, and Snoopy himself, he's not always just laying around on top of his kennel like he is here, but quite often he'll be sat with his typewriter because he's a bit of an aspiring author himself.
The trail runs until mid-January. Plenty of time to join Snoopy for a gentle wander or even a quick snooze. Sally Patterson, ITV News, Fleet Street.
Well, that's it from us. Geraint's here next with the evening news, but for now, from all of us on the London team, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.